Prompt payment. In the Kenyan context, there's a limit of payment, it's 30 days. And where there's a delay, you have to pay 50% with a commitment and explanation on when you'll pay the balance, and also you explain why there's been a delay. Invoice discounting, where there's possibility of delay in payments for works or services rendered or goods delivered. Invoice discounting is an arrangement where a financial institution advances credit to the affected enterprises. And this is for purposes of also ensuring that the person who has supplied the goods, works, or services keeps on going, rather than, you don't pay, and by extension you are killing that enterprise or firm. Sometimes you may have items or goods, particularly works, that can be broken down into smaller components, so that you allow small and medium enterprises whose capacity we know they have a challenge in accessing funding or resources. So, but when you break it down to smaller components, you are giving them an opportunity to participate in procurements. And when you do that, I think you are doing your country some service, some good service. That you are also looking at those small and medium enterprises who will not only benefit from that procuring opportunity, but also those funds will remain within your country. Rather than giving an opportunity to an international firm, whom at the end of the day may even, get that money out of the country. And when funds are not circulating within the country, then it will also affect economic development. Exemption from provision of tender security. Tender security, we all know, is an instrument that entities use to ensure that we have only serious bidders. But in the context of youth, women, and persons with disability, they are not required to submit security, but are required to fill in an undertaking or a form which will be used against them if they don't execute a contract, and can be used even to debar them from future tendering opportunities. So it's a legal instrument. It's an instrument that is provided for in the law, as opposed to the bid security, which has got no financial implication and will assist in terms of maintaining costs for participating in bidding opportunities. Automation of registration of special groups and suppliers. We do this for purposes of ensuring that we are also, IT compliant. It's a faster way of registering special groups. And we do this through some centers that have been established countrywide. We call them Huduma centers. And we have dedicated desks that will provide services of registering in participating and having a certificate to be recognized as under the SME framework as a youth, women, or person with disability to participate in procurement opportunities. We have also set aside a dedicated tender portal. It's interactive in nature for providing information on procurement opportunities, that is tendering opportunities. And it's a faster way, and it has got a wider reach across the country. And then special groups, special funds, enterprises have been set aside for youth, women, including persons with disability. But then there's a move towards merging, those listed enterprises. The process is ongoing, and this funding is only set aside for the small and medium enterprises. Other gains, I'll not go through that, it's self-explanatory, but what I can say in summary is that exclusive preference, there are certain tendering opportunities that are set aside exclusively for in the national government and county government for small and medium enterprises, be they goods, works, or services. This is provided for under our legal framework. And as you can see, in the last bullet, about the 40% that has been set aside for citizen contractors, particularly where we have international tenders that have been advertised and international firms participate in this. You have to demonstrate how you will set aside or source 40% from local contractors. Now, I've come up with some statistics there. There are actually 3 tables, and these ones demonstrate the achievements that we have had in terms of setting aside procurement opportunities. One is summary of reservations. The other one is the level of absorption of funds by special groups. And the third one, now we are now focusing on small and medium enterprises insofar as youth, women, and persons living with disabilities are concerned. Those are statistics, just figures that you later on, look at and understand where we have come from up to the current challenges. And I have a feeling that this is common across the countries. Financing, I've mentioned about small and medium enterprises having a challenge in accessing funding. It's a serious matter, because sometimes you may, offer an opportunity to a bidder, a youth or a person living with disability. You give that person an LPO or LSO, then he or she is unable to service that particular contract because of limited access financing. There are some entities which we have experienced that are uncomfortable with awarding contracts to small and medium enterprises, simply because they have never been tested. And even their reputation sometimes is questionable. These are the feelings of some of the public entities. And sometimes you may even find that access to credit lines is a serious problem. And even understanding the technical and specifications and financial qualifications sometimes is not something that small and medium enterprises can go through. Delays in payment, I've mentioned this, is a common problem. And there's a way of tackling this, there's a proposal. Capacity, I've mentioned about this as well. And when you design projects, particularly the technical ones, where this SME lacks some expertise, you'll tend to see that these are focused on well-established firms, either within or in international sphere. Technology, this one we can't run away from. SMEs can't run away from this. In any given country, SMEs can't run away from it. If they want to participate in public procurement opportunities, they have to be compliant with information technology in terms of transactions with public entities. and this will boil down to capacity building, they have to be exposed to information technology. Now, when they don't, have access to information technology, then how do we assist them? Solutions: capacity building, capacity development, continuous carrying out capacity development for the specialized groups, full operationalization of preference and reservation scheme, and our colleagues in National Treasury are up to the task. This is something that is work in progress, and I'm convinced that sooner rather than later, it will be a thing of the past. And then access to information technology through fiber optical connectivity across the entire country, and enhancing of the speed of connectivity. And in conclusion, I'll just summarize like this, that we have tested the small and medium enterprises. We have tested the implementation of preference and reservation scheme with a focus to youth, women, and persons living with disability, and we have found that it's working. And I would urge other countries, I know other countries have got also their own approaches in dealing with this. And we have had many countries visiting us for purposes of benchmarking. And I can dare say even now that we have even made an international presentation on the 30% preference and reservation scheme in UN during the meetings. And most of the countries have approached us to learn how they can do this, and also how small and medium enterprises can benefit from this. Not only for purposes of having some legal framework that you and me can see that is provided for, but the results. What is it that a country will gain from implementing a legal framework that will assist small, medium, and SMEs, small, medium enterprises, specifically youth, women, and persons with disability? I strongly believe that this is the group that will drive the economy of any given country forward, given that governments are the largest buyers. Now, if you give this group opportunities, and they're the majority, then be rest assured that the legal framework that you'll have will enable all of us within this region and beyond to enhance our socio-economic development through application of preferred scheme, narrowing down on youth, women, and persons with disability. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Eric, Juma, for the good presentation, especially on how small groups can be helped to integrate in public procurement. And as you heard, he has told us that actually it works, and Kenya has made strides in helping small groups to integrate in public procurement and to be helped. So we'll be happy, all of us, to benchmark on what Kenya has done and how we can move. Our second presentation is on capacity building challenges in public procurement. And the presenter is Mr. Eric Shirimpunu. Eric is the acting vice rector in charge of administration and finance at the Institute of Legal Practice and Development since 2016. He's a financial manager with a solid experience and has been Director of Finance for a period of more than 8 years at the Institute of Legal Practice and Development in Rwanda. Eric developed and adopted financial and manual, procurement manual, and participated in drafting strategic plans and human resource manual at the Institute. He also designed various documents and tools which are used in the daily management of the Institute, especially in the areas of finance and administration. He has been a part-time lecturer at Independent University of Kigali, Gishenyi campus, where he taught finance and accounting. Eric holds a master's in business administration with specialization in finance, obtained in 2011 from Maastricht School of Management in the Netherlands. Please join me to welcome Eric to make his presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
The chairman has introduced me extensively, so I won't go back to that. But probably for clarification and I would a little bit introduce the institution that I work for and relate it on how we came to this forum. As he mentioned, is the Institute of Legal Practice and Development, which is almost similar as the LDC of Uganda, Law School of Tanzania, Law School or School of Law of Kenya. So I made that so that the people who are here can understand the difference of it from maybe another faculty of law. So when I was given this topic to develop it, the capacity challenges, the capacity building challenges in public procurement, I first thought whether I should link it to Rwanda or even other countries, but maybe to other countries it wouldn't be easy for me because maybe it would require research. But I decided to make it general, and probably the challenges that I will mention, you may find them that you're facing them, or maybe they are the ones you are facing that I did not mention, but there are some that I believe they should be common. So, well, before we go to challenges, maybe we should start by defining the capacity building. I know that the definition may be many and different depending on the context, but I choose two. I see the way one is the capacity building is a process by which individuals, organizations, institutions, and society develop ability to perform functions, solve problems, and set and achieve objectives. That's one definition. Another is the process by which individuals and organizations obtain, improve, and retain the skills, knowledge, tools, equipment, and other resources needed to do their jobs competently. We can get as many as possible depending on the context, but I only choose those ones. There is an old man who used to tell me that when you want to debate on certain things, first of all, you should start by defining them. So I went by that principle, but I'm sure you can have more. Then there are some characteristics when you're talking about capacity building or capacity, the capacity core of development. Any course of action needs to be, any course of action needs to be developed for this end, for the capacity. The objective, focus, and timing of any capacity development program needs to be an integral part of the country's overall procurement strategy. And lastly, the capacity building is a long-term process. So maybe as we are discussing, we'll go back, we'll be remembering all these common characteristics that can be, that we have mentioned in starting. Now, let us go to the topic of the day, the challenges. As I said, what I put there is not exhaustive. It may be found in Rwanda or even in other countries, but one of them is one of the challenges that we found in the capacity building is that in public procurement especially, is that it has been short time rather than long time. The capacity building that is done, I mean, all the courses that were done were somehow short term than long term. And probably that's why you find that people may complain and saying, but people have been receiving trainings and trainings, what's wrong? Why do you still that you don't have the capacity? But because it was done in a short term, not in a long term, maybe that could be one of the challenges. The second challenge that we identified is the lack of effective involvement of stakeholders in a capacity development program, because in there they should be consulted so that when you develop a program, it should come addressing all needs that have been expressed by stakeholders in the field. But the situation has been that a trainer or whoever wants to give a training or capacity building, in terms of training, would sit and think of a training and start offering the training, yes, but sometimes at the end you find that there are some parts that you did not touch, or maybe there's where you did not give emphasis, whereas it is where the issues are. The other challenge is lack of effective training need assessment. I think it is almost, as I said, any training in our understanding is that there should first be a training need assessment, so that in case you are developing any course, any program, comes to answer the issues that you have identified in the need assessment. Lack of training with more practical orientation. Theories without practice is there's a saying that theories without the practice is blind, and even practice without theory is fertile, not fertile, I think. So the training, some of the training are offered or were offered by non-practitioners. And if you are offering a training to practitioners, yet you are not practitioner, you give them concept, but you will not go into be able to go into the matter where they are facing issues, and this is a challenge. There is also issue of sufficient budget for capacity building. Of course, always money has never been enough in any circumstance. Lack of national expertise in procurement, especially complex procurement. I think you agree with me that this profession of procurement is a new compared to other professions. When you look at the accounting, those who are Christians or believe in a book, in a Bible, you will find that the accounting started even before Christ. But this procurement is just a new, because if I remember well, when I started studying, I didn't know this procurement. I mean, the work has been being done, but maybe not being done by the professionals, maybe by the accountant or wherever, but it was not there like other professionals. So this makes it difficult maybe not to have enough, or as we may wish, professionals, national professionals in the area. There is also lack of trainers with necessary expertise. I think I've mentioned it. There is lack of focus on both legal and non-legal aspects. When we talk about procurement, it's then people will tell you about compliance. And when you go to compliance, it's about law. But that one is not enough. You also have to look at the other things, like what we have seen in the morning, value for money. So then you need a course that will not consider one aspect. We consider all aspects holistically. So that's also, we think that it could be one of the challenges. Then there is also lack of effective collaboration with training providers. Of course, when there's the first thing I would say that there is no assessment. Most likely, even the providers are not well coordinated. Lack of involvement of servants from peripheral jobs that are necessary and involved in the entire procurement process, such as auditors, judges, as well as business people, lawyers, engineers, and so on. These people also need to understand or have knowledge about the procurement. I remember one of my friends, he was a judge, he was telling me that, but what is this bid? Probably had a document and he was just want to run what's the, so these people also needs to understand the procurement and all these jargons that maybe they cannot be the practitioners as we are, but at least they need to understand that, because even if someone makes a mistake or they said that there is a case that is filed, people who are involved should understand exactly what it means. Then there is a limited accredited professionals certificate program in public procurement. Maybe in other countries you may have them, but as the case of Rwanda, I think the number, though we have that, the willing is there and people are trying to get certified in procurement, but we don't have many professionals in the area, as I mentioned, that it's a new area. There is also limited continuous education programs, and often not based on needs assessment. Then this continuous legal education, I'm talking about short courses of few days, who are given either to professionals or even non-professionals, just on a particular aspect, which are different from the other certified courses that I mentioned earlier. There is also lack of retention policy to staff working in public procurement. There is no way we can have the professionals in the, or say that we can build the procurement capacity when there is no retention policy for those staff. Because what you mean is that you train people, by the time they have started getting understanding things, then you find that they have shifted to other areas. So there is a need, or the fact that the retention policy, or there's no way these people are well motivated so that in the field that they are, they should not think of going somewhere else. This also could be a challenge to retaining the capacity we had built. Of course, it goes with the lack of recognition of career of procurement function that I have already mentioned. Well, basing on this, there is a model that has been designed for a sustainable capacity building in public procurement. And I will go through it very quickly. The first part is not clear, but what is there is that the capacity building needs to start from at the upper. There is a financial reforms, that which brings even this issue of procurement, because the fact of considering procurement as a important item and having like this forum like this discussing this is that it affects the financial management. So if you want to do a reform, then this is part of it. And then under that there should be a strategic public procurement, or where in that procurement there should be also the strategy for capacity building. Now, for those things, there are three factors that could lead to success. The first one is the involvement of stakeholders. Unfortunately, it is not clear there. I think the colors are not being seen. There is also, which means that capacity development, as I mentioned earlier, should consult all stakeholders. And by stakeholders, I mean institutions, there is the procurement professionals, there is business community, civil society, and donors, so that by doing that assessment, we know clearly where the issues are. And when we are designing the course, they should be addressed the issues that have been seen. And for that, there is another factor that's needed that would make the capacity building be a success, is the guiding principles. Of course, by guiding principles, we find there country ownership. Unless the country would own that thing and say that we are committed to this, and they have targets. That's the only thing that's one of the things that would lead to the success of capacity building. There is also open-eyed assessment, strategic planning, cross-monitoring, because if we are offering courses, we need also to assess at some extent and see what's the improvement brought by the fact that we have conducted a particular course. Then there is a willingness to change. The other factor among the three is the strategic plan, the capacity development strategy of each institution, which should be institution focused, because the needs of institution may be different. So institution should have look at its needs and establish its strategy, which shows the targets that it should achieve in a certain period. The target should be first into achievable target. I mean, first into longer term horizon. They should also be sequenced with public sector reforms, whatever you are setting as a target to achieve, then should go with the other reforms that are to be done, because procurement itself is not an island. It has to go with other reforms that have to be in the financial management. So, and where possible, we look at, we check on a cost effective. So when you combine all those factors, then you will get an effective and efficient capacity building. Now, from this, what can we say? Some of the tips that we can say is that, as we started saying, we say capacity building, don't rush. Capacity building is a long process, long time process. People would say, I mean, if, for example, an audit is conducted and people are found with some of the mistakes or errors that, of course, there is no 100% compliance, maybe people start asking, how do you still have these mistakes when you have been training your people? But what should be understood is that capacity building is a long process, and the outcomes are not, it's not like an output where you have a number of inputs, and after having that you get an output. It's not like that, it is a process. So capacity building, another tip is that capacity development builds upon respect of and self-esteem. By this we mean that some of the things, especially in procurement, goes with values, because it is not the fact that people have been taught how to do things that necessarily they will do, because they have been given that capacity, but also it goes with values. So it will take time, and you have still to do it, and yeah. Then scale locally and globally. What we mean is that we cannot say that there is one way. It's each institution should look at its own challenges, and also see how it can solve them through providing the training that can cover that area. And of course, we cannot say that there is also a frank collaboration and dialogue, especially in doing this assessment. Think and act in terms of sustainable capacity. In other words, as I mentioned, it's building. Of course, we are building, and we expect, if you are talking about the outcome, it's not something that will happen the following day. You expect that you get the result after a certain period. Then there is also a need of establish a positive incentive. Motives and incentives need to be aligned with the objective of capacity building. If you are building your capacity, also align it with incentives. You teach people, they are certified, but there is you don't look on the effort they have put in to be certified. Then probably you will find that you have built the capacity for others. And where possible, preliminary rules national expertise and go for externals as a supplement. As I mentioned, though it would be better if people are taught by professionals, and where possible, nationals who understand the context, because some of the teachings needs to go with the context. Then another one, don't give up, or don't be tired with don't look at saying that we have spent 5 years training people and now feel like you could give up. No, it is a long-term process. that was general. So what about Rwanda? The current capacity building move in Rwanda is that the legal framework is well established and shaped by a strong political will. So that's a factor that we rely on. The e-procurement is fully operational and is being integrated by IFMIS. Remember with the other model that I mentioned, where I said that procurement also should be linked with the other reforms. There's the Association of Professionals in Procurement is in place. They have their own association where professional people who are working in that profession are registered. And this probably we hope that it will help in the future, because whoever will do mistakes willingly, even the profession, the association could even intervene by maybe correcting him. Then also there is the professional training, a postgraduate diploma in procurement practice. We say it DPP, to start in next year and be offered by the Institute of Legal Practice and Development. We, as I mentioned earlier, that the training were being offered, but maybe scattered, offered by different service providers, and probably not preceded, of course, really not probably. They were not preceded by any assessment. They would be depend on the need of the way the service provider wished. But now we want to start that postgraduate diploma, and shall be offered by the Institute. It is a program that has been validated by the higher learning institution, the higher learning body. So we hope that this will help. So what will make this course different from other courses that have been offered? First of all, the teaching in the DPP, they will be more practical and offered where possible, or mainly by professionals. These are the people who are in the profession, who knows where the problems are, and could come and tell people how they can solve the issues, other than maybe telling them the list of don'ts or other things. Again, they will be sharing of experience, because they will be coming from the industry, and there will be industrial attachment at the end of the course. Each course is expected to spend almost 6 months, okay, thank you. It's 6 months, but which shall be ended with an industrial attachment. There's also, and as I mentioned, the course will cover legal and non-legal aspect of the course. There will be also, apart from that postgraduate, also we intend that there will be short courses that will be also offered, not to practitioners, but to other people who are involved in this process of procurement. And any course, whether short or postgraduate, shall be guided by a need assessment. So before I conclude, then I would conclude by welcoming you to the Institute. I hope that we will not only have Rwandans, but we will have East African people. We expect that we even get people from other countries, and we shall welcome you at the Institute. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Eric, for taking us through the challenges of capacity building in public procurement. And of course, reserve your questions as we get the last presenter, and take us from there will be Paul talking about professionalism in public procurement. Please join me to welcome Paul. Paul Raphael. Just a brief on Paul Raphael. He is the Director of Finance and Administration, Procurement and Supplies Professional and Technicians Board of Tanzania. And from his profile, he's an accountant all the way through. He's a senior accountant, and he has been done auditing. He has done sat on audit committees, and he's very, very well experienced in matters of financial management and accounting. So please, Paul, karibu sana.
Asante. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
I'm a bit lucky to be the last presenter, and I'll gain benefit of what was presented since this morning. Professionalism as a key topic to discuss is built on knowledge, skills, and attitude. The first two can be obtained in higher learning institutions. But from professional board point of view, our interest much is on ethics, that the code of conduct of our professionals. However, I'll wish to put a demarcation at this point where there is a perception that is a profession operating in an open system or closed system. Can a profession be a self-complementary or depend on others? This is the key point I want to put forward before going further. And the second issue is about globally, professionals emerge from two systems. It's either a rule-based system or principle-based system. For instance, in accounting profession, particularly in Tanzania, we do work under principle-based accounting system. Under this concept, we are allowed to make judgmental decisions. But our judgmental decisions are guided by general accepted accounting principles. But procurement across the region is based on rule-based. That is a set of do and don'ts. It's either you comply or you don't comply, full stop. There is no much room for judgmental decision. And this is the key demarcating point that I thought is so important to put it way forward. However, conference delegate, we are here because of Article 5 of East Africa Community Common Market Development that requires cooperation to harmonize and mutually recognize academic and professional qualifications. I understand the setup of these professional bodies across the region is a bit different. There are some who are as a result of a parliamentary act, and there are some who are basically as a result of just an association of professionals with a common interest. And in particular, PSPTB is a professional board coming from the Act of the Parliament, number 23 of 2007, and we are mandated in particular on those three issues. We are a professional developer on one hand, equally we are a professional regulator. Above all, we do advise the government on issues related to professionalism. In a nutshell, taking advantage of my the speaker who have just completed here, the situation is a bit different in Tanzania. The profession history comes back, can be traced back from 1978, way to date. Where, as a professional regulator, you will appreciate that we are dealing with the people's side. Since this morning, we are talking about the systems. With e-procurement is a system, and here I'm discussing about people who are going to implement the system. So as professional development, we equally train, and since last 2 years, our focus has been changed completely, and we are much focusing on leadership program, because currently professionals are assuming more strategic role than operational role. And we equally deal with institutional competence intervention. This is to address other key stakeholders that were not included in the prior thinking of capacity building. We are highly engaged by higher learning regulatory authorities in Tanzania, that is in curriculum development, whereas a professional board, without our opinion, is very hard a curriculum to be approved without our professional opinion. That in a nutshell. But as professional advisor, we really appreciate that to date, procurement and supply professional has a defined career path. So we have a scheme of service dedicated to that particular professionals, but we equally do participate in the number of legal process review, those related to procurement or public finance as a key stakeholder. But on the part of professional ethic conduct monitoring, the first thing, on graduation, our professionals do take a professional oath, and they know that procurement and supply is a noble profession, and therefore they are accountable to the government. They are equally accountable to the employer, to their profession, and the public at large. This means what? Of today, as I'm speaking today, there are around 12 disciplinary cases that are before disciplinary committee. We equally have 79 unregistered practitioners that are before court of law. So these are some of the initiatives that we are doing, at least to control the ethical conduct of professionals. And this brings me to a key demarcating point, a professionalism expectation gap. What CEOs expect professionals to be doing is quite different from what actual professionals are supposed to be doing. To date, procurement is at board of directors level. If you go through the regional law, and in particular the Tanzanian Public Procurement Act, you'll find that it's the board of directors who are entrusted with implementation of the Public Procurement Act. But the challenge is the level of knowledge in a procurement law of board of directors members. That is the key challenge. But again, we as professionals, is the law from 2011 that transformed the professional outlook. Before, professionals were considered as operational cadre. But since then, the professional is considered as a strategic cadre. Then how do we behave in the boardrooms? That's again create another gap. However, professionals have two challenges to comprehend at this stage. One, we have a duty of value creation, and this is the topic Dr. Shilima was presenting this morning. Value creation, that is value for money. Our presence as professionals will be judged towards how much value do we create in our organization. But the second thing is on revenue generation. Particularly, professionals will be judged on saving. It's very hard to find professionals talking about savings to the organizations. And these are the two key terminologies that are the interest of the board of directors. That means, if you consider who does procurement really, to my personal perception, is user department, is a change maker. But to what extent users understand their responsibilities, that's the key question professionals we need to share. Because it's user who has to define the need by developing specifications, terms of reference, or statement of requirement, depending on the category of procurement. Again, it's user, according to the Tanzanian law, who has a duty to oversee contract implementation, to report any deviation on ongoing contracts. More important is the user who is going to certify payment to suppliers, contractors, or consultants. With this noble responsibility placed to users, the issue is, once things goes wrong, is the only person who is focused is the professional. And this is what I call an expectation game. However, we professionals need to think here as a key stakeholder of TANE. This is what I have gone through just yesterday. That for those 241 PEs, the government is going to manage 13,982 contracts worth 11.8 trillion. Bearing in mind, our budget is 33 trillion and personal enrollment budget is around 7 trillion, so 26 trillion vis-a-vis 11.8. And take note, out of 26 trillion, there are some items which are not following under procurement process. That means the magnitude of government expenditure through procurement process is huge. And this defines the level of professionalism that is required to guarantee the government that it gets the value for money. This being the case, as professionals living in a bigger family globally, we need to understand the mega trends that affect our professionalism. And in serving our employer, we need always to appreciate that globalization has a bigger impact on our way we deliver our services. But there is a management shift in this thinking again, that is, work pressure is becoming much more professionals. We need to be innovative. Talk about regulatory policies. We have the law, we have regulation, but take an example of mining local content regulation of 2018. Yes, it focuses to a private sector, but it highly regulated the professionalism, because out of this regulation, mining companies are required to report two critical issues. One, professionals or semi-professionals or unskilled staff that are engaged in procurement by names and their professional qualifications. But two, how much is being procured locally in terms of goods, services, and the works. So you can see, again, it's not only the procurement law that regulates the professionalism, but there are other laws equally addressing on the same focus. But technology is a challenge. One of the participants was talking about the impact of technology. I'm not sure to what extent we can share, but it's true. They are talking about industrial revolution. And they are talking global today of the fourth industrial revolution. That means digital revolution, where mobile internet, small and more powerful sensors, artificial intelligence are going to dominate the world. To professionals, we may think this is an illusion, but it has a bigger impact on the skill set we possess. The way we acquired our knowledge and skills some years back are going to be affected much with the current global requirement as far as technological advancement is concerned. And then this brings me to a point where I was asking myself that artificial intelligence, is it a myth or a reality? Again, through TANEP, on those 13,973 procurement contracts, these are procurement methods that are going to be used. And the value. But the message I want to send here to professionals is procurement process of these are going to eliminate human interface. That means the days of bidders coming to our institution and buying tender documents are gone. That means opening of tender in a formal meeting, again, that is gone. And to me, this sends two critical messages. One is risk management. Traditionally, professionals have been exposed to a challenge of being condemned on issues related to misconduct, because we always meet with the bidders in the course of quotation solicitations. But this risk is going to be reduced because it's the system that will take care and not a human being anymore to some stages. But second, we have to look at it that we were used to handle these processes and now are taken by the system. We need to think critically now. If these are done by the system, what are we going to do now? Is that waiting for the system to allow you to unlock the tenders? Just waiting for the system to allow you to unlock the evaluation process? Only that? Then, as professionals, the Public Procurement Act of 2011 that was revised 2016 has come to reality. That is, professionals have to assume strategic role and get away on operational roles. Now, to achieve this, we really need mindset evolution. we really need mindset evolution. Before the coming of TANEP, we were empowered to recommend evaluation team, yet evaluation report affected value for money. Can we say we were not accountable for this? Because it's you who proposed the names of evaluators. It's you who reviewed the evaluation report. And it's you who submitted the evaluation report before tender board. It's you who recommended the evaluation team to accounting officer. Yet negotiation results affected value for money. It's we who prepared tender document. Yet the tender document affected attainment of value for money. You know why? We are now at the boardroom, where soft skills are equally important as technical skills. But most of we professionals, given the magnitude of transformation, we fall short on soft skills. And to empower yourself on soft skills, that is a function of emotional intelligence. And this is the area I would advise professionals to think and rethink on a new way of doing business. The way we were brought to our career as operational cadre has affected much our subconscious mind. And we think that's the only way of doing business. Now, we have to undo it. We need to invest much on self-management skills that include self-awareness, self-regulation, and as leaders, see how best you can motivate yourself to achieve beyond expectations. And at this point is where I call upon professionals to think of how much do we save through procurement process. We report in boardrooms rather than the contract that was signed, because it's only value creation and serving that will count on us as professionals. And lastly, we need to invest as professionals on relationship management, empathy, considering others as others' feelings along with other factors when making decisions. But equally, social skills. These are important parameters that will assist us as professionals to cope with the change. Because we have an noble role of transforming the procurement. And therefore, professionalism of procurement call upon all professionals to be coaches. When you appoint an evaluation team, you need to coach them. You need to be a leader to coach them to know what they're supposed to do so that we can attain value for money. When you are recommending negotiation team, you have a noble role to coach them. But we need to play the same role in the boardroom, because our procurement plan, our quarterly performance report need to be presented before boardroom on a quarterly basis. By virtue of that, thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Paul. Can I request that we give him another round of applause? Okay, colleagues, thank you very much to all the presenters, and we are going to take some questions in the order through which they will answer in the order through which they presented, as the norm has been. In the interest of time, as I was guided by the moderator, we are going to take limited questions because of time, and I would propose that we take 3 questions for each presenter, which are going to be answered, and thereafter, if there are any other questions or any other requests for clarifications, we can take written questions, which we shall distribute to the presenters, and they can probably respond by email. You can include your email, which they can give you more clarifications. The floor is now open. Take questions for the presentations which you've had. Where's the microphone? Yes, there's a lady at the back there. Please take her the microphone. Please, you will tell us your name and where you're coming from, for that the presenters can know you better.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, dear Chairman, for this session.
No, the microphone is not working. Yeah, can you move in the front here so that you can use this microphone, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for this session. Thank you very much, Paul. I'd like to comment the remarks you made on soft skills. Indeed, procurement professionals need to have soft skills, and you've seen the gaps where we've not mentored evaluation committee members, where we've not mentored negotiation committee members. Thank you very much for pointing that out. My question is for Juma. As you were presenting, I kept thinking, how do you register those groups, the women, the people with disabilities? I noticed one of the things you do, you have desks all over the country, and my question was, where exactly are these desks, and which government body is responsible for those desks? We have a challenge in our country, Uganda. My name is Deborah. I'm from Bank of Uganda, and I'd really like to borrow a leaf from you that we can use back at home. How can we make this registration work so that we come up with those preferential schemes in our country? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deborah. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And my name is Ifoma Judith. I'm from Nigeria. I work for a civil society organization, Public and Private Development Center. And really, I must commend our presenters for the well and excellent presentations they made. And my question goes to Mr. Juma, the second presenter. And so he talked about, and I must really commend Kenya really for the level of enabling environment and institutional arrangement that has been created to make sure that, especially women, not just people with disabilities, for women, because we in Africa, it seems like procurement is a male-dominated sector, maybe because of our patriarchal society. And really, for us in Nigeria, we did this research, I think this was this year, with help from AFIC, where we tried to see the kind of enabling environment the government has created to enable women, to amplify the works of women, both from the formal and informal sector. And we are currently implementing beneficial ownership in our country, and I don't know if Kenya has already started taking that step. And my question specifically is, how do you determine what's the framework on how you can actually determine real owners of the company, because we know that sometimes that I'm a woman representing a company doesn't mean I'm the one that reaps the dividends of that company. So I'm very, very interested if you can throw more light on how you determine who the real owners of the companies are, and if all this information helps you to really know if they're really, if the companies are owned by women or the women are just the representatives of those companies. Because in that way, we might not really be sure if you're really promoting women-owned businesses. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that question. Can you move the mic to this side? Any other questions to the presenters? Oh, yes.
Thank you so much, dear presenters. My name is Daniel Obama from Uganda. I work with URA. The last presenter said that procurement is more of rule-based compared to other professions like accounting. Is principle-based. I think that's debatable because even in procurement, we have principles and there are decisions which we make that you really need to apply judgment. Just don't go because the rule says A, B, C, D, then you go and do A, B, C, D. I mean, you just follow what the rule says. You have to apply judgment while also following the rules. Maybe I needed to get more clarification from you. If that's maybe a thinking from the accounting world that procurement is that, but for us who are in practice, we know you have to apply judgment as well as following the rules. Thank you so much for your presentation on soft skills. I would like to relate your presentation to the presentation that was made this morning about tariffs, and just put a question, as we adopt e-procurement, are we looking at,
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, are we looking at professionals losing jobs? Because of course technology will have to come in, and then most of the things which were operational being done by human beings has to be replaced. And of course, that's just like you put it, that in the boardroom you want to see value. So if you invest, if governments invest in these technologies, are we foreseeing possibilities that our people are going to be losing jobs? And what advice would you give to the people who are currently in practice so that they also prepare for that? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question? Yes, I'll bring the microphone here at the middle. Okay, first give the lady and then you come here in the middle. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, representatives. I'm Rachel Senge from NSF Uganda. I'm also interested in the small groups. I want to know the governance structure. Do they really have legal capacity to contract? Because at the end of the day, in case they breach, they need to account. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate your leadership and the presentations. But I have one small question to Tanzania, who presented on professionalism. Unfortunately, in Uganda, we are still tussling with the legal framework. Even the Institute of Public Procurement of Uganda is not yet recognized as legally in that legal form, unlike Kenya and Tanzania. And when I look at this procurement cadre, the ones where some of them have done procurement, and procurement, you know, is a new course. Maybe not even when I was in university, it was not there. Maybe not even 10 years old in most of these countries. Secondly, you find you have economists, you have engineers, you have lawyers, you have procurement, who have done procurement, doing procurement. If we're talking about procurement professionals, whom are we talking about? Who is a procurement professional? Then for Juma, unfortunately, you missed yesterday's discussion on local content. And SMEs and this the legal framework in Kenya in relation to the East African community, the customs union, the common market protocol. Don't you think these legal frameworks we are creating are discriminating against our own people in the East African community? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're left with one question, but we'll take 6. Yes, the gentleman here, that's the last question before our panelists make their answers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Enes Kisombi. I'm coming from Tanzania. Mine is not a question, it's a clarification that what has been put that procurement is a very new career, and the presenter cited that for those who are reading Bible, it's not indicated over there. Now I would like to clarify that if you read Genesis chapter 6, verse 14 to 16, we see the first man to perform procurement was Noah, and the instruction and design was done by God. And on verse 22, the inspection report was put for everyone to satisfy the procurement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those biblical words, which justify that procurement has been there since man came to be. Okay, thank you very much for all the questions. And our panelists are here, Maurice, Paul, and Eric, who are going to respond to those questions and clarifications. Maurice, please.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and for those who raised questions. Most of the questions from my analysis are on the presentation that I made. And I thank those who have raised these issues. And it really points out the direction that we are all interested in building our economies, enhancing our economies through our small and medium enterprises. Which is why I think these clarifications will go a long way in opening up, other countries who are interested in at least following up or emulating what Kenya is doing. Now, one, I can say that registration of small and medium enterprises, particularly on the 30% preference and reservation scheme that I mentioned, is a function of our ministry, the National Treasury and Planning. And what we do in terms of, because I'll need to explain a little bit deeper, what we need in terms of relating with National Treasury is that Treasury does the registration. PPRA Kenya informs entities through our website that these are the firms, these are the youth, women, and persons with disability that have been registered under the preference and reservation scheme. Visit our website, www.ppra.go.ke. you'll find a list of all those who have been registered as youth, women, and persons with disabilities for various categories of supply of goods, works, and services. Now, the desks, sometimes it's good to think about, this is not the desk I'm talking about, but the one that is in front of me here. But broadly speaking, is that there is a booth, there is an office that is located under what I call Huduma centers. Now, Huduma centers are a form of an institution that provides various services in one building, be it National Hospital Insurance Fund registration, National Social Security Fund, obtaining of a driving license, what you may call also as the certificate that is issued for certificate of good conduct. You know, all those services that are common across the entire public sector are offered in one building, in one institution. Now, these institutions are scattered all over the Republic. In the counties, we have got 47 counties in Kenya. So all these Huduma centers are scattered in those 47 counties, and they offer, amongst others, registration of, provide certificate of registration as a youth, women, or person with disability. And you can also do this online through the National Treasury website. So it's something that is well defined. It's easily accessible by all who are interested, particularly those who qualify. And there are certain minimum requirements that you must have to qualify under the preference and reservation scheme. One is identification, the National Identification Certificate. 2, tax compliance certificate. 3, company registration certificate, amongst other legal instruments. Now, when you present your identification as a lady, now of course, you have to present yourself there. You will be seen as a lady and you qualify if you have those minimum requirements. Now, the other aspect is you have that certificate, and then you are participating in a bidding process. All documentation will comply, will fit in as you are a lady. But then at the back of it, who is supporting you? Who is funding you? Sorry. Who is participating in that process? Now, that is another ballgame. Because sometimes, if you're married, maybe your husband is funding you. But you, as a person who is fronting for that procurement, you're a lady. Or sometimes there are other, dishonest persons. They have all the requirements, but then they participate in a bidding process. But then who is pushing them behind the scene is somebody else altogether. Of course, it's a challenge. It's something that we are trying to address so that the real beneficiaries, those who qualify for these procurements, are the ones who need to participate in that. So it's a challenge to us, and we are dealing with it, and we'll see how far we can address that issue. And I think I've also answered the lady from Nigeria. I didn't get her name well. And then I didn't get correctly this clarification that was sought from the lady from SSF Uganda. But what I can say in summary is if you breach any provision of the procurement law, if you breach your contractual obligation, you've been awarded a contract, you don't meet your side of the bargain, and then in the end result, the entity suffers, then you can be called upon to account. Either the options that are available is You can be taken through the debarment process, that is blacklisting. Of course, that contract can be terminated with some consequences that are provided for in the contract agreement. My colleague Ben, on the local content, the 40%. Now, within the context of the East African community, because we are all members of the East African community here. With respect to discrimination, when you're applying it, if you look at the ESC protocol, it's very difficult to respond, in a manner that can, satisfy what Ben has said. But what I can say is, this 40% local content is being made in the interest of our local industries, our local suppliers. But then implementing it sometimes may also be a challenge, because you can't define local content clearly to enable enforcement. Does local content mean labor? Does local content mean services? Or does it mean, you calculate the materials that will go into a project? It's something that is not clearly defined. But in terms of breaching the ESG protocol, so that other countries that are within the region don't benefit from it, it's something that is debatable. It can be argued, because now each country is looking at how do we grow our economy, and we have the resources here. Do we go to, say, a neighboring country, we get those resources, or we allow a firm from the neighboring country to participate in this bid? And yet we know very well that we have a law to implement. So which takes, precedent? Which comes first? Is it the ESC protocol, or is it our own procurement laws in our respective country? It's something that is debatable. So it depends on how you look at it. Now, if you want to be patriotic to your country, you'll first deal with your law. Now, if you're somebody who is generous enough and you're looking beyond your borders, you'll allow others to come and interfere with your procurement process. And then in the long run, you may run into trouble with your local firms. Instead of building them, you are building others. It's something that is debatable, but for now, that is how I look at it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maurice. See the other questions. I think you, yes, I had one.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think I'm the one who said that the profession is new, and I still believe that what I said is correct. In fact, as procurement as the need was there, as maybe when the time started of life, but as a profession which has a curricula, academic curricula, as a professional curricula, I think it is a new domain. That's what I mean. But as a need, it used to be there, but done by people not specialized but in that area. That's what I mean. But as a need, it used to be there like any others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Paul, please.
Thank you, Chair. I have a number of questions. I'll begin with a written one. I'm asked to what extent the advice and the recommendation from professionals are there by higher non-professional when making decision. For the case of Tanzania, if you ask an accounting officer, the first risk they face is non-adherence to the Public Procurement Act. you might not be guaranteed if you mishandle the process. If you go through the report, the PPRI annual report that was disputed sometimes back, you will find some strong recommendation made by the authority that affects dearly the position of non-professionals who might think an advice given by professionals was not that much important. So no one is above the law. And through the legal framework that exists, that thus gives at least a room for professionals to advise and see how best they can assist their accounting officers not be implicated in issues related to public procurement. And the second question was, what are the professionals' protection applied within the region? Certainly, the Public Procurement Act have a number of provisions. I will use a case of Tanzania where Section 84 first protects those key players who are engaged in the procurement process from being interfered by bidders. And when they have a proper record of that, automatically that bidder will be terminated at that stage. However, if you go to Section 104, that is on offenses, again, you will find that bidders' interference in procurement process, again, is an offense by itself. And once convicted, you might be imprisoned to a tenure not less than 7 years, or a fine of 10 million, or both. Now, from that end, you see protection of professional protections. First is within the Public Procurement Act, but second, from Code of Conduct of Procurement Professionals. Again, one of the remit is the professional board, at least to see how best can intervene on issues related to ethical conduct of professionals, especially those related with the intimidation. And the third question was, how could you assist profession to be away from political issues? Yes, there is political pressure. But thanks to the governance process in procurement arena in Tanzania, that you see a regulator on one hand, but you will appreciate the work done by Public Procurement Appeals Authority in giving a breathing point to bidders where they can complain and unearth anything that goes wrong. But more important, I have to appreciate there are cases where professionals who were ethical were exposed to temporarily unpleasant environment, but later stages were elevated. And in the same line, there are professionals who accepted to go with political pressure at a later stage were equally affected dearly, and some are facing some charges before court of law. So at this point, I cannot comment much, but your personal integrity is a cornerstone of your professionalism. But more important, when I was talking about emotional intelligence, the first factor I discussed was on self-awareness. Know your strength, know your weakness, and know your attitude. Which things do you stand for? And then see how best you can maneuver through soft skills to get away on that particular situation. If you wish to approach those through technical skills, it can't work out. But much can be at least solved through soft skills. I thank Deborah for your comment, and I equally appreciate my brother from URA. Yes, it is debatable. There is a room for judgmental decision, and I really appreciate that when you are talking, for instance, of negotiation process, you debate whatever you can, but you have to do within a certain framework that is regulated by the law. And also, procurement is encouraging innovation. That means innovation comes out of thinking beyond the requirement of the law. But all these have to be done within the parameters that are acceptable by or are supported by the law or related regulations. And the tricky question was again on the procurement as a new cause. My brother from Uganda, yes. Yes, with the title procurement, it is a new cause, but if we go through the evolution of procurement as a profession, then you will appreciate some years back it was globally, the key word was materials management. That has evolved into procurement and then to supply chain management, and today the word is talking about supply management. And if you consider the nodes of supply chain, then procurement is one of the components in those nodes. So it might be new by just picking the terminology procurement, but by virtue of professional involvement, you'll find that the concepts were there. But since the profession is dynamic as well, that means it keeps on changing depending on the number of factors that is affecting the global trends. However, the tricky part of it, who are procurement professionals? Appreciate my first slide that is the profession operating in a closed system or open system. That's the right place to start with. Procurement is operating in an open system where it has to interact with other professionals. No way whoever would think is belonging to a procurement profession can self-sustain the requirement of development at himself or herself alone. Has to interact with other professionals. For instance, when you are talking of works, here comes a number of professionals. That means they have their positive contribution in the procurement process, starting from needs defining to contract implementation. Now, according to the Public Procurement Act, who is defined as a procurement professional is the one who is registered by Procurement and Supplies Professional Board. However, the Act equally recognizes the importance of other professionals in ensuring we achieve value for money. Now, I said your question was a bit tricky because there is no one single person who can stand at a claim that can do procurement as a standalone, as the profession itself operating in an open system. It depends on the professionalism of others to build up a team that can accomplish a mission. And that being the case, allow me to at least to appreciate that by virtue of our law, professionals are those who are registered by Procurement and the Supplies Professional Board. However, the same law recognizes the existence of other professionals who have a very positive and critical contribution towards achieving value for money. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our presentation. Allow me to thank my presenters, Maurice. Thank you very much. Tuwapigie makofi. Thank you, Mike. I thank all of you, my presenters. I thank the audience for being a good audience. I would also like to thank PPDA Uganda for nominating me to chair this session. We've come to the end, and ladies and gentlemen, I now want to hand over to the moderator for more administrative announcements. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and actually we are on time, although 25 minutes late, but we are on time. Still, we can do the remainder of the activities. I would wish to talk a little bit about the excursion tour, which has been planned for tomorrow afternoon. When we finish the event tomorrow afternoon, there is a complimentary excursion tour offered by PPRA Tanzania to the Arusha National Park. So please, that's an opportunity. You will have seen a paper which has been moving around asking you to list your names for those who would wish to go, because the logistics arrangement have to be done so that we have enough transport to be visiting to go there. Before I ask the people in the front here to go back and join the other plenary, let's give them a hand, a shake, and allow them to go. But then, just for 2 or 3 minutes, I will invite a guy a person who is from the Arusha National Park, where we'll be visiting, to come and say a few words, to tell you what is it that you will see at Arusha National Park and why you should all go to Arusha National Park. Please, Karibu. Introduce yourself and then tell us.
Asante. Yeah, just 2 minutes. Good afternoon. My name is Jerome Boniface Danz. I'm conservation officer from Arusha National Park. I know tomorrow we have maybe some few minutes there to make a tour, excursion inside the Arusha National Park. I warmly welcome you, as I have just distributed some of the welcome note on your table. Arusha National Park is among the closest national park, in Arusha town. It's almost 32 kilometers from town. So it's very close, and have got, diverse wildlife species. You'll have time when you'll see them, a lot of them inside the park. I know most of you, you're coming in East Africa, you have those national parks. So most of the animals do differ. For Arusha National Park, we have, those big 5, except rhino and lion. You have a glance of view of the, black and white colobus monkey. Those are our main, sign for Arusha National Park. They are very nice. You will have also some of other attractions, like duty-free sceneries. You'll have nice forest view. Inside those wildlife species, you have also to see the giraffe, elephant, and the other species which are inside the park. We have other attractions. We have, the Momela Lakes. Those Momela Lakes, have been a very nice area for the, breeding zone for the flamingos. As you can see at the back of me, there are some flamingos there in the Clyde banner. You have to see them inside, the Momela Lakes. We also have Ngurudoto crater. That's the source of, the name Ngurudoto. It's not too big as Ngorongoro, but it's a crater where you can see other species inside there. We don't walk inside. There is a viewpoint called Mikindu where you can see those animals inside there. So you are welcome. I know you cannot have a time to walk. If you have a time to walk, you'll see I'm in beautiful waterfalls called Tulusia, Maio. I don't know if you have time to walk according to a schedule. Also, I would like you to know that Arusha National Park is also having a mountain in it. It's called Meru Mountain. It's the biggest. It's not too small, though it's not too big like Kilimanjaro Mountain. It's almost 4,566 meters above sea level. Also, I've got a nice view you can enjoy. So I would like to invite you. You are welcome. I don't have much words to say. I know you will do game driving, though others are coming to do other activities like horse riding, cycling, and so forth. You're welcome. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Well, as you, maybe just to let you know, the Arusha National Park is only 32 kilometers from here, and it's almost an hour driving. So once you start here by about 2-ish, you should be back here latest by 19 hours. So it will be all right. It will be a good tour. You will still be able on your beds. When you will be having really a good night. Asante. Now, the gala dinner. Let's talk about the gala dinner, please. Those of you who will be going and have registered, don't forget to take your delegate badges. These are the badges which you will have to get into the gala dinner. It's unfortunate that we put these conditions. We have good reasons for it. So please, don't forget to take your badges. You don't have to wear it, but have it in your pocket and show it. Show it to the gate keeper when you reach there. The buses will pick you, those who will be picked by the buses, around 6:45. So get ready by that time. We shouldn't really dwell much now. Thank you all for endurance until this time, and have a nice evening. Let's meet tomorrow, same time as today, but let's be early. Today we started late because some people came late. Thank you all, and have a good evening.